So many golfers get up there with driver, all great intentions about hitting that long straight drive, but unfortunately, they get that big slicey one that goes absolutely nowhere and it's absolutely dead. But what if I told you it was incredibly simple, like so simple it's mind-blowing, that by the end of today's video we're going to have you setting up to the golf ball and have a little feel in your swing that will get you shaping the ball very, very differently, delivering the club incredibly differently, and hitting some unbelievable shots like that. Now I know what you're thinking, it can't be simple, it can't be easy, otherwise you'd already be doing it. But perhaps the way you're trying to achieve what we're going to talk about is the wrong way. So I'm going to help you understand what's causing that horror one to begin with, and then most importantly, what you need to focus on doing to deliver your driver like we saw in that second drive. So let's go about the bad one first. So from a good address position, swung the club back as normal, and then most golfers really feel like they've got to turn out the way. So what they do is they turn the hips out of the way, and if we look down the line, as I get to the top and turn my hips out of the way, the club works out in front of me, and then as the club's swinging left, that low point's going to be way ahead of the golf ball, and they're going to take all the loft off the club. So the only way they can get the ball in the air is to leave that club face open. They get that huge glancing blow, and we saw that massive curve out to the right. Now I know what you're thinking, that's you. But I have to turn my hips out of the way, don't I? You do, but there's another movement you need to make beforehand that can let that happen much better. So what the second shot was all about was instead of the club travelling down through impact and having no loft, the club was actually travelling up through impact on a very different line, much more efficient way of delivering the club, but also a much more accurate way of delivering the golf club. So what we saw on the second one was the low point was behind the golf ball, and there was nothing different about the backswing, but I got that lead hip to move forward, but the sternum stayed back behind the golf ball. So what you'll see with most really poor drivers of the golf ball is the hips don't get forward, and the sternum, if anything, gets too in line with the golf ball. Not always the worst thing in the world when the ball's on the floor. Still like to see those hips go that way. But what you see with all the best drivers of the golf ball is you see much more of that shape to the body, not that shape. And it's just massively different for how it's going to allow you to swing the golf club. So the bad way, you can see that club's going to move there. The good way, the club's going to swing much more from the inside, create that low point behind, and really get that club travelling up, hitting much better golf shots. So I always think the best way of doing it is to just focus initially on maybe a couple of practice swings where you just feel the movement and don't worry about there being a golf ball there. So we're going to set up as normal just for now, swing back, and you're going to feel that first movement is that lead hip moving over the lead foot. So once you can feel that, then swing down. And you might say that you still feel your upper body. Go. That's fine. You want to get onto that left side to begin with. Now, even if you were to hit a shot doing that, you're still going to see that cutty one, but you're certainly going to see the low point less far ahead, a much better contact on the golf ball, still missing the fairway right, but a big pickup in distance. So even though that wasn't a good shot, it was definitely better than the first one. So again, you just rehearse that feel, getting that lead hip over that foot. So then once you can get that feel, then the second point is as that lead hip moves over the foot, you want to feel the sternum stays back behind the golf ball and let the club swing through. And if you were to even skim the ground, you probably notice now how I actually hit the ground well back behind the golf ball. Now obviously I don't want to hit the ground, but that's a big giveaway that all of a sudden touching the ground back there, as opposed to up here, shows that the low point's in a different place, but also I'm swinging the club on a very different direction. So again, like we did to begin with, you have a few practice swings, get that feel. Then you're going to set up there and try and feel more of that body shape into the golf ball. And straight away, even if it doesn't start drawing, you'll start to notice the low points behind, the ball's launching up in the air much more. Even though it felt like I didn't put as much into that, there was still a little bit more speed and just all in all, a much better golf shot. And definitely when I work on this with pupils when I'm face to face, they also tell me that when they're swinging the old way, it feels like kind of the hands can't get involved. And that's them just trying to keep some loft on the club. But they say the more they get this feel, kind of feels like the hands work very differently and certainly release the club much, much better. So then the key is that last one was really, really good, but still didn't feel quite out the hands and the club face got back where I would have wanted. But get that feel onto that lead side, sternum stays behind. And that just would feel very, very different for a slicer of the golf ball. So again, you can set up. And there we go. Suddenly start to see the ball curving the other way. We can see on TrackMan there, low point 4.2 inches behind. Clubs travelled up 2.4 degrees and 220 carry and 260 total. Now that was, I'll be honest, that wasn't a great strike, but we still saw good ball speed from not a great strike. And if you are a slicer of the golf ball, you probably won't mind about the little bit of a miss hit. But once you start seeing that ball curve from right to left instead of that horror slice, you're really going to see such a big difference in the shot. And then if you can get some confidence in that and feel that you stand up, and like I said, get on that lead side, keep the sternum behind. Then as you get some confidence, you might feel that you can even put a little bit more into the swing. And like I said, start seeing the ball shape the other way. A tiny bit more club head speed there. Low point 4.7 inches behind. Clubs travelled up. And then all of a sudden, 250 carry and 282 total. So don't be one of those golfers like most golfers out there who just continue to make the same mistakes with driver because they're trying to hit up. They stay back, turn the hips out of the way, the path's way out to in, and the only way they can get the ball in the air is to leave that club face open. That's the perfect recipe for the big slice that goes nowhere but is absolutely out of play every time. But if you can work on normal backswing, shift onto that lead side, keep the sternum behind, that's going to be much more the shape you're going to see. And more importantly, like that last shot, that's the shape. And that might not be your distance, but you'll definitely hit the ball longer than ever. And maybe, just maybe, with that little draw.